Okay, hello. I'm kind of feeling gross. I'm really sweaty and nasty, but I wanted to make this video. Hopefully this reaches whoever needs it. I don't know. But at the time of me recording this, there was like this whole thing with the Wizard Liz. Love her content, by the way. And there's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of conversation around this. And yeah, I just wanted to add a little something, I guess. Now, first of all, I feel like it's pretty obvious that I'm not a female, that I am not a woman, but I am a person who is attracted to men, and so I do have that perspective. And the biggest takeaway from this situation for me is that it is so important that you do not date down, that you do not like befriend people with like major insecurities. And we all have insecurities. It's not to say that, like, you know, nobody's perfect, but like definitely stay away from people who have not tried to work on those insecurities, who have not done any sort of work to like become a better person, you know what I mean? Now, I don't know all the details, obviously, but from what I have heard, there is something to be said about him putting on a sort of mask and like pretending to be something that he wasn't. And that's also something to be said. Like, sometimes you will be fooled. Sometimes you have to really use your discernment. You know what I mean? And honestly, this goes not just for relationships, but friendships, for jobs, like all across the board. Like, we should not be entertaining relationships. We should not be entertaining energy exchanges with people who like secretly don't like us, don't wish the best for us, and all that jazz. Like, that's, and like obviously on the surface that makes sense. It's like, yeah, duh, right? But so many of us do it. It happens so often. Like, so many of us are in jobs where people literally hate our guts. So many of us are in relationships where like our partner does not like us at all. And it's like, how does this keep happening? I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons why this happens. One of those reasons is because a lot of us come from family systems that teach us that you just kind of gotta settle for what's around you. You just gotta, you know, take what you can get. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people adopt this, you know, later in life, and like they just believe that, you know, if someone's nice to me, if someone's kind to me, then that's all I need, right? But like, no, there's a lot more that goes into a good relationship, you know? By no means am I an expert on this. I'm just very observant, and I've observed over the years how people operate, and it's crazy out here, man. I feel like that was definitely very awkward. I'm walking through a neighborhood. There were like a few people like hanging out on their porches, and I have not reached that level of content creator where I just proudly film in front of people. That's not me. So I do be trying to be a little subtle. I do be trying to, you know what I mean? Because also I be talking about some deep shit, and like not everybody's ready for that. And so I don't, you know what I mean? Like I'm not the type of content creator that can just walk around filming content. Cause I be talking about some deep shit. Point blank period. You just should not date people who are beneath you. Like, if you have a lot of feminine energy, if you have a lot of creative energy, if you have a lot of energy in general, if you're like a powerhouse, you have to be really careful about who you connect with, because there are unfortunately a lot of people in the world who only want to be friends with you, who only want to connect with you because of the benefit that you bring to their life. Not because they genuinely like you as a person, not because they want to add value to your life, but because they enjoy the benefit that they can reap from you. And I don't know, I try not to be super candid about this sort of stuff. Like, I try to use this stuff as like wisdom to share with you guys. But if I were to be a little bit transparent, there's a person that I've had in my life, and I cut them off like a week ago. Caught a body about a week ago. I cut them, I'm also in a cemetery. I cut them off a week ago, very intentionally, very, you know, clear-mindedly, if that's a word, because I felt like they didn't really have the capacity, and don't have the capacity, present moment, to really honor and respect me in the way that I feel like I need. And I don't, it's not in a cocky sort of way. It's not like I'm saying like, oh, you need to bow down and worship me. I'm not saying that. But when you have worked on your divine feminine energy, when you have worked on your inner like essence, when you have worked on your spirit, and you have done the work to like heal and let go of toxic beliefs, you need to be extra careful about who you're connecting with. Because once again, a lot of people in this world only want to connect with you because they understand the benefit that you bring to them. They don't give a fuck about adding value to your life. They might even pretend like they're adding value. They might give you money here and there, but like let's understand it right here and now. Money is not to be worshipped. Money is not to be something that we place over our mental health, that we place over our emotional needs, that we place over love. Like that was never the plan. That should never be the goal, you know, like. And I'm also talking from the perspective of someone who low-key has been in desperation mode when it comes to money the last few days. Like, I have no problem attracting money. I have no problem making money most of the time. I feel like if I ever have problems attracting money, it's because my guides are trying to communicate a lesson to me or trying to communicate a message to me in a way. Still kind of unsure exactly what the lesson is now. But yeah, I'm also speaking from that perspective. Like, with the desperation that I do hold, I also understand the importance of love and respect and like honoring the person in front of you, you know. And I feel like a lot of people are lost on that. And speaking of lost, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Speaking of lost, we all feel a little lost here and there. We all get to a space in our journey where we feel like we don't really know what's going on. We don't really have direction, clear direction. And like I said before, when you have taken the time to work on yourself, to heal yourself, to make yourself better than you used to be, you have to be careful about people who do not have the same agenda, who do not, and it's not in a judgmental way, it's not in a holier than thou, it's not in a I'm better than you, like, because that's not how I like to approach it. I don't like to look at it that way. I do believe that we all have the capacity to grow and to be better. It's very painful, so most people do not take that route, but we all have the capability, we all have the possibility to do so. But when you are that person, who is up-leveling themselves, trying to be better, you have to be very careful about connecting with people who do not have that same goal. And also be very careful because some people will pretend, some people will make you believe that they do have those goals, but your intuition knows. This person that I have been dealing with, sometimes they watch my videos and like, I don't know, they do this weird thing where they like lazily comment, or they like watch it and then they'll tell me that they watched it but then they don't like it, and little stupid shit like that. And it's like, their excuse was like, I don't think about that sort of stuff. And it's like, what do you think at all? See, and now I'm getting mean. And as a rule of thumb, one thing that I've come to understand is that when you know who yourself, when you know who you are, and when you know how you operate naturally, right, with or without other people involved, and then you're connecting with someone who brings a side of you out that you don't like, i.e. anger, that's when you need to start removing yourself. That's when you need to start detaching. Because naturally connecting with other people, I like to think of relationships like in Steven Universe. Like, you connect with another person and then to some degree you both become a different individuals to some degree. And it works like that in real life too, especially if you're not careful. You know, and sometimes we fall in love with people, sometimes we enjoy people who turn us into somebody that we do not need to be. And I don't know, I think one of the biggest lessons of humanity is learning to let go, learning to not be so affected by things of this earth. And I've been saying that a lot in the last couple weeks to people as I've been doing readings and stuff. Like, letting go is not always easy, but it is definitely the best thing to do, you know? And it's why a lot of people stay stuck in their situations, because they refuse to let go of certain people, places, and things, you know? And I say refuse, like, it's a lot easier said than done to let go of a habit, to let go of a person, to let go of a thing, you know what I mean? But it is definitely worth it. You know, Sometimes I miss meth. But but then I'm like, I'm glad that I'm not doing that anymore. You know what I mean? And I'll be so glad when I have marijuana out of my life, because I love marijuana. I love getting high. But like, it also inhibits my ability to function in the way that I need to. You know, like, I don't get lazy necessarily. It actually kind of motivates me to some degree. It helps me to operate. But it's also a dependency thing. And it's like, that's not where I want to be. It's not where I want to be. I haven't smoked yet today. I did recently purchase some. So I have some with me. And I'm thankful for that. But yeah, I don't know. To go back to this person, I have a lot of respect for this person. I have a lot of love for this person. And part of that love and respect is because he's been so helpful to me in different ways. But I've also lost a lot of respect for him because of the ways that I've witnessed him try to sabotage me. And I say tried to, maybe it wasn't a conscious effort. Maybe it was just his subconscious acting out, because that's exactly why you don't date insecure people. That's why exactly why you don't date people who don't have the same emotional capacity as you, because in different ways they will sabotage you. And I said try before. Maybe it's not a conscious effort all the time, but it is a thing that happens, you know, because they have not. You can only meet people as deeply as they have met themselves. And if you're connecting with someone who does not know themselves, you're going to be confused. You're going to be lost in the sauce. Either because they want you to be, or because they just don't know themselves, and by proxy, they can't help you figure out yourself. You know, like, I don't know myself. How the fuck am I supposed to help you find yourself? How am I supposed to regulate you, you know? And I don't know. I definitely think that it's up to you as the person experiencing your life to decide whether or not you want to have certain people in your lives. Like, I think a good guide, I think our spirit guides are so great because they encourage free will. They're not going to be like, oh, you need to do this, or you need to stop smoking, or you need to do this. They'll give you options. They'll be like, you either need to stop smoking, or you need to, like, calm down. Or, like, you know, there's options. That's how I like to exist as a reader. Like, I will give you options. I will give you choices. A lot of people just want to be told what to do. I'm not that type of reader. I'm not about to be like, oh, here's what you need to do, and that's all that you need to do. But I know there's always other options. You could also meditate. You could also, you know, plan it out. Like, there's a lot of options. Don't ever listen to a reader. I mean, to each their own, do whatever. But try not to listen to readers who don't give you options, who don't give you choices. You know what I mean? Also, try not to listen to readers who sound very like, this is the one way, this is the right way, because, no. Like, someone who has truly mastered their spirituality, mastered themselves, know that there is not just one way to live. And they would never push that on somebody else. They would never be like, oh, this is the one way for you to exist, and that's it. Like, no, that's not how life works. That's not how we operate as interdimensional beings, you know what I mean? Another thing about it is that, like, they will make you feel so small, and they will not be able to take accountability for that, because to some degree that is their mission, you know, because they feel small inside. Like, I think a good rule of thumb is that people who make you feel a certain way, well, there's nuance to this. I don't want to say this as a blanket statement, but generally, people who feel a certain way on the inside will go around making other people feel that way. And I say there's nuance because if you're insecure and you meet somebody who is, like, full of love, full of themselves, blah 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 blah, most likely they will make you feel small because you already feel small, and you're not able to look at them as somebody to be inspired by. You're looking at them as, why can't I be as good as them? Why do they have that? Why are they like that and I can't be like that? You know? And once I can't personally wrap my head around it, because I've never really, at least in this lifetime, I've never been that type of person to look at somebody and be like, why can't I be like that? Because I know that, like, if they can do it, I can do it. And, you know, and I don't always feel that way. I don't always genuinely feel like, oh, I can do it. But I'm not about to look at somebody else and be like, you suck because you have what I don't have. And that's how an insecure person thinks. You know, you got to be careful with these people, because they're not thinking on the same level as you. They're not feeling on the same level as you. They're thinking about survival. They're thinking about getting their needs met. And, like, I'm not one to say that narcissism is, like, evil, inherently evil. Like, just because someone is a narcissist, they're inherently evil. That's not how that works. Narcissism, by definition, is just being obsessed with yourself. There are some self-obsessed people in the world who are great philanthropists, who are great people of charity. Now, we could also talk about whether or not they're doing it for the right reasons. We could talk about that. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just because someone is obsessed with themselves does not mean they are a bad person. And, you know, but once again, somebody who is obsessed with themselves and also unable to look at how other people feel, who is unable to look at how other people might respond to their actions, is not somebody that you want to be friends with. They might be charming, they might be pleasant on the surface, but when you get to know them, you will see that their actions are just surface level. Like, yeah, sure, they might be generous, sure, they might be helping you and blah, blah, blah. But if you really pay attention, you'll see that it's empty. They're not doing it because they genuinely want to help you. They're doing it because they feel they have to, because you asked, because it's the right thing to do, you know, and these are people to stay away from. Like, if I could get it transparent, I could be considered a scammer because I've gone out of my way to ask people for money, and I've gone out of my way to ask people if they wanted my services. I don't think I'm a scammer. I would very confidently say that I am not a scammer because I'm genuinely trying to give something back to whoever I'm taking from. Like, I'm not just taking from you and being like, oh, well, you lost some money. No, I'm asking you for money. I'm getting money from you, and I'm also giving you some potentially life-changing information, you know? And that's the difference between a scammer and an actual reader. Like, a reader, like a healer, is somebody who's going to actually provide something for you. Meanwhile, a scammer is just trying to make money. Like, that's the only difference, really. Sorry once again that this is all over the place. But yeah, no. I was saying that to say that I go out of my way to ask people for money, and to be quite honest with you, I don't even remember what the point of what I was saying was. I really got distracted. I don't know what I was about to say. Okay, I remembered what I was about to say. Okay. Because I go out of my way to ask people for money in different ways. Sometimes it's people that I actually know face to face, and then sometimes it's people that I've done readings for, et cetera, et cetera. I've done this. I'm not ashamed to say it because we live in a world that is run by money. We need, like, don't ever be ashamed for asking for what you need. Like, let's get that out of the way. But sometimes in these moments where I ask people that I know personally, sometimes I have gotten pushback, even despite me being very clear with my asking that I don't want them to feel guilty. I don't want them to feel pressured into saying yes, because I try to be a generally kind person. Like, in most situations of my life, I try to be kind. I try to move with my heart, you know? And so, and this is the biggest reason why people even want to, like, give me money without anything in return, because I am so sweet, I am so kind, like, genuinely. And so I've had people try to, like, turn it around on me and be like, yeah, you want me to feel guilty for saying no and all this shit, when literally most of the time when I ask people that I know personally, I'll be like, yeah, it's totally okay if you say no. Like, sometimes I literally say that. I'm like, it's perfectly fine if you have to say no. Please don't feel pressured into doing anything you don't want to do. But can I have X, Y, and Z? You know, and most of the time I get it. Most of the time, if they have it. But I've had moments where they were like, well, if I say no, then you're going to get mad. And, like, I'm thinking about that person that I told you about, the insecure person. He said that once. He was like, well, you always get mad if I say no. And I'm like, we're on the phone having this conversation, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Because I'm very clear when I request something. Please don't feel bad if you have to say no. Please don't feel some type of way if you have to decline. Like, it's okay, you know? And he said that. He was like, you always try to make me feel guilty. And I'm like, okay, you feel guilt, but that has nothing to do with me, because I'm clearly telling you it is okay. Please do not stress yourself, you know? And I don't know, one of the messages from that little anecdote is that you really got to be careful with people spinning narratives on you, because you can be the most kindest person, the most sweetest person, and there will be at least one person in your life, at least one person, I can guarantee it, who is going to try to spin the way that you behave into something manipulative. And we could look at it from different ways. We could look at it from them just looking at it from their point of view because they're a manipulative person and that's what they would do in that situation. Or we could look at it because they genuinely think that you're being manipulative. Also probably because they have been manipulative in the past. Either way, you have to be careful about that. Like, that's why it's so important to know yourself, because if you don't know yourself, people will try to tell you who you are. People will tell you either way, but you got to know yourself. You got to know who you are at your core and stand on that shit, you know? Because once again, people could call me a scammer. People could definitely call me that. And I mean, by certain standards, I probably would be. But by my standards, by my understanding, I'm not. Because I'm genuinely trying to give service. I'm genuinely trying to be helpful. You know, like a scammer doesn't give a fuck about helping people. A scammer doesn't give a fuck about like healing people. They just want to make the money. And once again, because I do have compassion, I have sympathy, I do want to say, once again, like, we live in a world that is run by money. Like, I don't think it's ever, like, some ways that people do it are inherently unethical, maybe bad, whatever. But I don't think we should ever necessarily feel guilty for going after something that is so necessary in this world. You know, like, I wish that more people had integrity to not do bad things like that. But, like, it's literally the way that we run the world. Like, when people call girls gold diggers and shit like that, it's like, are you stupid? They need money. We need money to survive. And you have the audacity to tell someone that you're trying to fuck, that you're trying to use for their body, use for their feminine energy. You have the audacity to tell them that they're just a gold digger. What gold are they digging for? You don't even have that much money. What are you talking about? You just don't want to, because it's crazy, because it's like, these are the narcissist people that I'm talking about, because you have a want, you have a desire to get your rocks off or whatever, and they have a desire, they have a want to make money for you know, and it's like you're asking them to do something, and chances are you're not even really good at pleasuring, you know. Like, I've met a lot of dudes, and a majority of dudes that I've met personally are not good at pleasuring. Like, I used to be a bottom. Sorry if this is TMI, but I used to be a bottom, and I stopped doing that because every time I met somebody and every time I connected in that way, it was subpar. It was not that good. There are a couple moments that I can remember that were really good, but most of the time it was really not that great. And so why am I going to give myself up in that way when I don't genuinely want to? You know, like, I'm not saying you always have to get something in return when you're giving, because it's better to give than to receive. I do believe that. But if you both have something that the other wants, wouldn't it just be fair to just trade? But a lot of people have money wounds. A lot of people have really deep triggers around money. I've witnessed this. I've also read about this. Like, I remember one time I was experimenting with this thing that I was doing to make money. And I only ever did it once because this dude he definitely scarred me. I had this plan basically where I would go around and I would talk to people. I would start a conversation with somebody, and then by the end of it, I would be like, can I have $50? And I did that with this one dude, and he got so mad at me. We had a really nice conversation. I feel like it was a relatively healing conversation for him, honestly. And by the end of it, I asked him, I was like, you got $50? He got so angry, like he wanted to fight me. And I was like, I thought we were friends. You could just say no. And that's a big thing I've learned about a lot of insecure people. Like, instead of just saying no, instead of like just telling someone no, they'd rather get angry. Like, that is the default for them, like to get angry and to get like raunchy, instead of just being like, yeah, no, I'd rather not give that to you. Like, I don't know. And that's another thing. You got to watch out for people who have a hard time saying no, because those are the people who will try to make you feel bad for asking. You know, ask you shall receive, knock and the door shall be opened. Specifically if you put in the work, but generally if you ask, you can receive it, you know. And it's crazy that I live in America, so I'm talking from the American standpoint, but I think it's crazy that we live in a country that is supposed to be founded on Christian principles, on godly principles, yet so many people have such a problem with being charitable in a genuine way. Because if you feel obligated to give, that's not genuine charity. You know, that's obligation. That's responsibility. Like, but when you give because you want to give, that's something completely different. And most people don't do that. They do it out of obligation, you know? When I think about this person that I was telling you about, he claims to be like all these things and all that. And, you know, we're not getting into defamation of character, but I've definitely witnessed that he is not who he portrays himself to be. And it's like, why do you do that? You know? And then you get mad when I can tell that you're not being authentic. But it's like, but then you continue to want to be in my energy and in my face. So it's like, what? Like, don't date a man who dislikes you, obviously, but also be careful about people who are obsessed with you, because 9 times out of 10, these people don't know themselves, and they will they will harm you so bad, either intentionally or unintentionally. It does not matter what the intention was, though. They still fucking hurt you. You know, so be careful, be safe, be smart, be wise, be love, okay? This is